House Bill 768. Let's go over that. All right, so House Bill 768 is a registration act. It's one of the things that people joked about for a long time, like, oh, they're not going to like fingerprint and register everyone and, register, all the minutia related to what you have for lunch. What they are going to do is get all your demographical information. They're going to also do a background check, which you're already doing. They're also going to ask what the firearm is, the make and model, serial, caliber, all the bells and whistles going on with that. There's going to be a fee for each firearm individually, so that can run up quite high if you have several. There's also going to be a waiting period associated with that where you can be approved or denied. If you are denied, you have to surrender the firearm. Additionally, if you after the bill, if the bill goes through, you have to keep a certificate of ownership for each firearm. Not having such would be a violation, and then once again, you would be a criminal. So this is a very clear-cut road to depriving people of firearms. The whole purpose of it is that you can have it to protect yourself. If I have to wait 30 plus days to try to get a firearm and I have reason to believe I need one, 30 days probably might not fit the schedule of my, would-be murderer. There's plenty of instances where you have people who have tried to wait and get a firearm in different states that have long waiting periods, and they were murdered while waiting. So that's the issue. You also have the fact that for those of us who already have firearms, failure to register would make you instantly a criminal, which is a strange legal precedent because oftentimes they have something called grandfathering in, where if you purchase or did something legally at a certain time, you're covered if they make a law that makes it illegal in the future per se. So let's say, for example, like seatbelts. So before like 1968, seatbelts weren't mandatory and they weren't standard for most cars. Same thing with like side mirrors. You'll see like they'll have only the driver's side mirror. But after a certain period, it was mandatory by law. So if you have an older vehicle, you could not legally be cited and fined and penalized for not having it because that's just how it was at that time period. So the fact that they're making this retroactive is very heinous, and it's just atrocious. So this is a whole thing where you had the Second Amendment supposed to protect your life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, your human rights. What happens is with this bill, what is leading groundwork for is that if you do not register, or if you aren't approved by who knows whatever pen waving politician, that you are a criminal, and then at that point you have to comply, or you will face the consequence in the full wrath of the government, which is the exact purpose of the Second Amendment, so that you are protected from the government and other people who may try to force you to do things. So it's a very precarious path that things are going towards. You also have, where's the other one? You have exceptions. Can you guess what the exceptions would be to having to register your firearms? If you work for the government, there you go. Law enforcement, military, correction officers, along those lines. If you sell firearms and you have paid your money to sell firearms legally, have certificates for that. And there's like one or two other exceptions, but pretty much you have to capitulate or you will be criminalized, and you will suffer consequences as such. And once you have the whole thing too, where you don't know, if you have the wherewithal to pay these certificates. If you can't pay for a certificate, you have to give up the gun. If you can't, if you give up the gun, there's no guarantee that you can get it back later. Like, and let's say that, you have a firearm you want to give to a friend. He's got some issues where he feels threatened, or a young lady or whatever, a woman feels threatened, or your grandmother feels threatened. There's some burglaries happening in the house. I know plenty of people have had their homes broken into. I've had my home broken into several times growing up in Philly. And the fact that I can't get a firearm legally to protect myself from serious injury or harm or death is very troubling. There's some places in Philly where the cops don't show up unless there's a body on the ground, and then they show up at their own leisure because there's no rush. It's a dead body. That's commonplace where there's just instances where cops just won't show up, and they won't show up in a timely manner. I've had instances where cops would be on scene or nearby, shooting what happened, and they will leave or wait till the shooting's over, then go down, because cops don't want to be killed. I mean, they're people, and not every cop runs towards the gunfire. Don't believe that hype. So in that instance, who does it come down to? A can-do attitude is very useful, but it doesn't stop several home invaders, and it is several. I've never seen a home invasion with just one person. They come with superior force to shock and awe and subjugate. It's just how it is. So can-do attitude is not going to help you against 6, 7, 8 dudes busting in your door armed. They're going to be armed because they're criminals and they're ready to do damage, and you're just left in the lurch there. So let's go over a few other things for 768. It's a whole thing where a arbitrary third party is deciding your value and your ability to access something that is a human right, God-given right, if you want to use that term. You should always be able to protect yourself to whatever extreme you need to, because nothing's more important than your life. So to try to prescribe arbitrarily what you can or can't use is asinine. Not everybody can use the same thing. Let's say, I want to use a 30 round AR-15. People say, why would you need 30 rounds? Well, if there's 8 dudes, 5 dudes, 4 dudes, whatever, kicking my door, I want to have enough rounds to keep shooting, to keep them off of me, and to get them out so I can stay alive. I don't want to have to be trying to reload my over-under shotgun that I use for hunting. I assure you that they won't come in with their, blowback barrel, antique pirate blunderbusses. They're going to come with some heavy stuff. And everybody is more comfortable with different things. I may be more comfortable with a shotgun. Someone else might be more comfortable with a handgun with 20 rounds. Why would you say they can't use that? And then often people who aren't familiar with violence will say, oh, well, you don't need that much. Once it gets to that point where you have determined you need to use some force, which violence is just another type of force to protect yourself, you use all that is necessary to stop it. So if you do have measures, shooting someone and then, waiting or seeing what happened, you allow them to return fire and kill you. And I assure you that more than likely they won't be waiting to see if they did enough force. Let me see what else. So, all right. So the people you want to try to contact, if you want to be active, even if you don't feel like contacting your senators and your congressmen and such like that, just be active in a community where you're learning, sharing, and just connecting with your neighbors and other people you care about, your family members. Try to learn as many survival skills you can, first aid, just situational awareness, personal protection, all that stuff. It's crucial. You never know when you're going to need it. Same thing happens where people get shot. The vast majority of people, when they're injured, they die because there's just blood loss, and there's just a time gap between when they're injured critically and when help arrives. So if you learn basic first aid, you carry a first aid kit around with you, a personal individual first aid kit, you can save a life. Or if you know the tools and methods you can improvise. So I urge everyone to take some training or do some of that so you can learn how to save life. Might be your own, might be someone you care about. There's this interesting story I was reading the other day. David Goggins was telling it about another person. Can't remember the guy's name, but this guy had trained some Green Berets on how to open up airway in the throat so that someone can breathe if they're injured. And a day later, after he taught him, this guy jumped out of the airplane, was knocked unconscious when he was parachuting, crash landed to the ground like 200 miles an hour, and was there not being able to breathe. And somebody came over and cut his throat open so that he can get air and stay alive. And lo and behold, it was the Green Berets that he trained earlier, that day or something, or the day prior, which is amazing. So always try to share information, always try to help people, always try to empower people, because you never know who they can help with that. And that's the whole thing about everything: firearms, training, motivational speaking, positive imagery. You want to empower other people so they can be their best, and then when they're doing well, they can help others. It's like Maya Angelou said, this little light of mine, let it shine. So let me go double check. So if you go to United States House Representatives.gov, you can literally just search by your zip code and see who your rep is. You can go to National Governors Association and see who your governor is, so you can email, fax, and call them, and send a snail mail as well. And then also you can do the same thing for the Senate House. So I suggest you follow up on 768 and send some information over to say that you're staunchly against the bill being passed, and then also follow up locally with your people as well. Stay cognizant and let them know that you are not, going quietly into the night. So that's all for today. Please remember, end of the month, we have the personal protection seminar, which is the last Thursday every month. That will be next week at Delaware. No, not next week. I'm sorry. 2 weeks. It'll be March 28th at Delaware Valley Sports Center. We're going to be going over armed and unarmed personal protection and the legalities and just the mindset of it. It's a free event, so come out, bring anybody you care about, love, come down and train, and just ask questions in an open, happy environment. Please follow on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Halo Defense Solutions. I'm going to be uploading some more content for gear reviews. I got some backlog stuff. I have to just finish the editing on it. And that's pretty much it. So I hope everybody has a good day. Remember, as always, bring your success from within, and each one teach one. That's an old 90s hip hop and R&B type thing. All right, take care, y'all. Peace. All right. All right. Thank you very much for signing in, and I'll see you guys later. Have a good one, and take care of yourselves. Peace.